and the goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
Excellent. So,
good enough for rapping.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band and show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band. Like,
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
but this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar.
Tonight, we have the folk punk music that's on a mission to spread good vibes. We have Brian Walker of A Day Without Love.
Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be
Your next favorite band.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese.
Hello, everyone, and I'm your co-host, David Moore.
And you are listening to...
Your next favorite band.
I'm smiling just because that's the second time we've been through the new open, and it just makes me smile. It's so cool.
It's a giddiness.
Yeah. There's that moment where, like, the middle part where we added that break with Cassie Hilgert from the Arts Quest CEO, and I thought something happened because the music stopped, and that was new for us. Because it's kind of meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Like, primarily, that's 85% the same. The quotes are different. The concert...
The footage.
Footage, the clips are different. But that the only and the music is all the same. You know, the voiceover work is the same, but that middle section is brand new. And it was just such a the reason why we added it was just such a genuine reaction to. In fact, it was a John Worthy solo that we were playing from Music Fest that she was watching, and just had this great moment of just sheer joy in watching it. And you know, that's just such a great combination of things. So anyway, it just makes me giggle.
Hey, look, we're on version 2.0 of the opening. It took us, 100 episodes to launch
right,
that?
Yeah.
So,
here we are, 101th.
100, right, I think that's the correct thing of that, as far as, like, adding an add-on to that. I think
Correct.
It's 101st, but, cool. Like, there's a whole airborne division that's pretty famous for that. But, it's...
I can certainly always count on you to keep things grounded in reality.
I mean, we can have fun with it. That's if we get to 111, I'm going to be 111, 111th the whole thing up. We're going to full on Tolkien that one.
Right. No, but I mean, it's true. Like you're definitely much more the keeping things on the straight and narrow. I'm the one that makes us go long over on time or too many colors and fonts in our promotional material.
Oh, and I'm like, Phil, there are 7 fonts in this. You're like, I took 2 out.
It's good stuff. But anyway, I thought this was an interesting tidbit. So, piece of trivia, but not to ask you to solve this week. Just simply found this one, and it's not something to even ask a question, just honor.
It's a nugget of knowledge.
The incredible greatness of Paul McCartney. I came across this. He's the only artist to reach the top of the UK charts as a solo artist, a duo, a trio, a quartet, a quintet, and a musical ensemble. So
I mean,
1,
that's
2,
great.
3, 4, 5, 6 different.
I see no sextets, no septupletet.
Yeah, what's he doing with his time?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, whatever.
Exactly. Someone's got to, start to step up.
Yeah, I mean, what else has he done?
But real quick, one other thing, David, I saw some live music.
Wait, you saw live music?
Shocker. But in fact, it was even a slightly more special thing than that. It was, we had Alex Radisson,
Yes.
And he asked me following that so he was hosting a Alex Radis Presents at the Ice House. And it was his rock band, Hot for Robot, and then 2 other local rock bands, so he was honoring the local and all original music brought that again, kind of continually highlighting the great opportunities that we have here to catch such great live music. So he included Galen Deary, formerly of Mystic Fool. I'll talk about that in a second. It's the same band, but they've kind of rebranded themselves as they come out with some new music. And then Roy and the Secret People. So all 3 bands somewhat have been connected to the show in some way, shape, or form.
Correct. We've had all of them on in some capacity.
Right. So this was a picture of, this was Alex and Hot for Robot kind of opened things up. They also brought in the screen. They were on the lower part of the Ice House. Pretty much filled it in because of such great music here. So it was a great Saturday night. That we had just had here, and you can see also again the greatness of the Ice House, like just was on full display. You have that beautiful brick background, and the sound was great. They used the screen for some visuals. It was really cool.
Awesome.
And then this was a fun picture I got of Galen and his crew. So now I wanted to mention this. So it used to be Mystic Fool. Then for a little bit he was Galen and the Mystic Fool, and then now they basically said they were going to call themselves Galen and the Reason Why. And so it's just kind of like a new kind of branding for their music. They've got all sorts of new stuff coming out. I just wanted to play a little bit of some of their music from this past Saturday. So here's Galen and the Reason Why. Another reason why I bring Galen in here is because it's a little bit of a promo for our No Planet B Jamboree that's coming up in April on the 21st. They will be our openers for that event, and if they bring anywhere near the energy they did on Saturday night, it's going to be a heck of a way to kick things off.
That's true. I mean, I was unfortunately not able to make the show, but it is every time I've seen Galen perform, it's nothing but energy.
Yep. I need to ask him too. I'm pretty sure his acoustic guitar is only 4 strings.
Did he drop the bass strings from it? I mean,
yes.
he's most commonly associated with playing ukulele because
Correct.
he uses a lot of ukulele where he runs it through effects and loops and things like that.
Yeah. And that might be why he does it, but it's still got a great sound.
I wonder if it's tuned the same as his ukulele.
It would be interesting to ask him that. But this is from the more Mystic Fool stuff, but he played a lot of the new stuff, and it sounds great. So, anyway, looking forward to all that. And just real quick, we can bring up here the little promo piece. There is the piece. So, No Planet B Jamboree, it's a free festival, you might call it. You know, basically 2 o'clock on a Sunday in April. Because in addition to the music, we're also going to be, there'll be some tabling organizations, and there'll be, basically information about sustainability, renewables, all that good stuff.
Yep.
And the week prior, on April 16th, the Tuesday night, that episode will be kind of like our, we'll call it the pre-jam, if you will. And that will be our time.
Blast off, because there's no other planet to go to.
So we can share some more music from Galen. We can share some music from Clover and Mustafa, and the other people who will be performing that day, and probably some interviews with some special guests on that live stream prior to. But yeah, if you can register, you can come to the website, nextfaveband.com, check out the info and register for the event and be able to check that out. But let's move to our guest for this week.
Awesome.
Very, very, very honored to have on the show the guest for this week. It's someone who is really bringing, great music, but also important topics to be shared. We kind of said off the top, they're on a mission to spread good vibes and help people through, some of the more difficult moments. So really can't wait to dive into a conversation with Brian. But here's some music to give you a flavor for what he's all about, because the flavor of folk punk just is a very cool title, and we try and shirk genre, but if it's that helpful, maybe it's a good thing in those cases. But check out this track. It's called Better Times, and it's by A Day Without Love.
spider spins its web, tells me a story that I won't know. Guess time to go. It's hard to face your fear, but you don't ever want to say you're a victim of anxiety, a broken society. And I don't ever want to give up again until my best friend.
A Day Without Love is the brainchild of multi-genre and multidisciplinary creator Brian Walker. A Day Without Love is on a mission to spread good vibes and help others rise above their own struggles. A Day Without Love was started by releasing their 2013 EPs Island and Confessions of the Innocent Mind. In the first year, Walker continued releasing material, with his first album, Solace, arriving the following year. Touring expanded beyond the East Coast, and the album Diary was released in 2018 to critical acclaim. Walker used the pandemic to supercharge his productivity, releasing the album Mega John, 11 EPs, 140 podcast episodes, and a poetry book, Surviving and Diving. 2023 saw the release of the album A Stranger That You Met Before. The band has continued to tour and record music as Walker searches the world to spread wisdom, joy, happiness, and the willingness for others to rise above their own struggles. A Day Without Love wants everyone to chase their dream and be the best version of themselves no matter what sets them behind.
So welcome to the show, Brian Walker of A Day Without Love.
Hey, how's it going?
Excellent. Yeah, great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here.
And as we let this song kind of continue to play underneath us, I guess wanted to maybe have you speak to it a little bit, and especially the video, like obviously is starting to touch on some of those themes and topics of helping people through, because you've got all sorts of different representation here.
Yeah, so when this song came out, it was around the pandemic.
Sure.
And I couldn't really use people. And I asked like people to send pictures of me, of themselves, where they feel most honest with who they are.
Sure.
And I wanted to tell that story, but the song Better Times really kind of speaks to, you know, I feel like for the past 15 years, people have been saying this is the worst year ever, right?
Right.
I was just like, nah, it's just been worse, right? So I thought to write that song, and like I recorded the song in like 2018 or 2019, and I released it like around the time of Mega John, and I recorded it on top of an Italian restaurant in New York with my friend, because that's where he lived. And I just said like, yo, I want this song to really capture people's honest selves, because I wrote the song hoping that like no matter what I do in my life or what's happening in the climate, I'm able to live my life the best way possible, and be in my truest self. So
yeah. That's a big theme that you have throughout either things I've heard you either write or speak to, or in your music. It's a lot of it is getting people to embrace their genuine selves, and I think it's such a wonderful kind of mission to be on, especially through music.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're joining us today from Boston, which you moved to there, like I guess right out of coming out of the pandemic, 2022. Previously, though, been Philly for 33 years prior to that, and it sounds like you also still kind of consider Philly like a home base.
You know, I'll be very honest. I'm a touring musician, and I feel like calling myself a local musician these days is just wrong. And the reason why I say that is because of this reason. I'm born and raised in Philly. My record label's based in Chicago. My bandmates currently, like the live ones, are all based in the South Shore of Boston and Cape Cod. I play in Boston, and I tour all over. So I'm like a person of many music scenes. But Philly is home. Like that is where I got started and everything.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's very cool, and that's where I got introduced to, because we're based in the Lehigh Valley, and you know our kind of sphere of ability to go see music very often includes Philly. Have become friends with Dan Drago, and you've been on his show, and so that was where I was just like, I gotta reach out to Brian. This is a really amazing individual to talk to. Like I said, I was interested in the music and the story. Like just so very cool to be digging into this. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I also lived in the Lehigh Valley for a year during my college days. So
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
yeah.
What part?
Bethlehem. I was a Lehigh student for a year and a half, and then I
Very
transferred to
nice.
Penn State. So, yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to attend Music Fest while you were here?
I did. Music Fest was really cool. I was there when BB King was there. I think in like 2005. No,
Nice.
2006 or 7 or something like that. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. No, that's awesome. Hopefully you get to perform here. Have you submitted to perform here before?
I'll be honest. I never know when to submit, so I would love to submit and
Yeah,
make
yeah.
that happen. So yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely, I'll share some of the details with you. Not that we're connected with it anyway, other than just the
Sure.
awareness. But
Yeah. As long as we
happy.
can try.
Yeah.
See what happens. So yeah.
No, it's definitely cool. But I guess we always like to kind of roll things back and get some of the influential inspiration part of the story. So, where did you come across music? Because from what I understand, it was like 2013 where music deciding to become A Day Without Love is where it happens. Like prior to that, though, what was your exposure to music and songwriting?
Oh, that's quite the story. So I could say like my first exposure to music in general was through my uncles. So I have an uncle who works in the hip hop industry and he's a DJ. So growing up, I just like seeing him make beats and play
Right,
with
sure.
the drum pad, the piano. But then my grandfather's brothers, they're all blues and folk players. Well, they were because a lot of them passed away. So I just grew up listening to Motown,
Hmm.
seeing my uncle remix Wu Tang and stuff like that, and then seeing my uncles play a lot of blues, like the greats, like Buddy Guy and et cetera, et cetera. And I
Hmm.
just remember being enamored. Now, flash forward to high school, I'm writing poetry, but I'm not sharing it.
Sure.
But I have a lot of friends that are in bands, and like any other high school kid, you're seeing your friends play in high school bands. But it wasn't until 18 where I picked up the guitar, and then
Hmm.
at 19, I became friends with these guys from a Philly, New Jersey band that I would see during my college weekends. And they were like, "Hey, we think you write music," and I was like, "I don't even know how to sing." And then it just kind of it was like one opportunity after the other. I was doing open mics, I was doing house shows,
Yeah.
and I didn't call my music anything. Um, but I just was like, hey, I wrote this poem the other day. Let's put some chords on it. I wrote another poem. Let's put some chords on it. And
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Was
Is
there
that-
so?
Oh.
Go ahead, David.
No. Well, you've already touched on one of those nuggets that necessarily we don't always have to dig into, but I'm always impressed. So you are, at least at the time, you're suggesting you write your lyric based first, and then you build the music bed behind it, or is that changed for you over time? Where now you're like, I've got a library of riffs, and now I write to that, like I respond to the music.
So today, every song is inspired a different way. Like I might be playing the banjo, I might be playing a bass, I might be playing a ukulele, I might be playing the piano, and stuff just comes up, right?
Uh-huh.
But then it was very much like lyrics first,
Hmm.
music later. And I stuck that way until I would say until like 2014 after Island came out.
Okay.
Yeah, so like my writing style was very structured, linear. Like you must write the lyrics, and before that you must be sad. And if you're not sad, you can't write music. But now it's kind of like I can't say it's all over the place, but I always kind of look at it like, all right, what am I trying to say to the world, right?
Mhm,
So
sure.
like Stranger That You Met Before was really about how can I write about human connection under the pretense of friendship and networking,
Hmm.
given the fact that I've been an independent musician for a long time, but I don't really hear too many people write about like the friendships or the experience of making friends. Because commonly in DIY, especially like punk scene, people are like, you're only tour if you have friends. You only make music if you have friends, but no one talks about how to make that friend or
Sure.
the experience of
Yeah.
making that friend.
Right.
So I thought let me make that album about that concept of making a friend. Or Solace was about, hey, I'm suffering. I'm really sad, but I'm finding my own peace. So let
Hmm.
me write songs about that. So, and the ways I went about that were both lyric based, but it also was like, well, what does sadness sound like? What does friendship sound like? And then me experimenting with those different sounds on various instruments to make one big project. So
That's very cool. Yeah. This is the question I had was you mentioned that you weren't sharing your poetry, and obviously that age range you're probably anyone would be. It goes through that phase of, well, I created something, but I'm nervous to put it out there.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. So, so I was going to ask, was it easier or just as difficult to set it to music and sing it? Like, was there a change there for now maybe getting the vulnerability out there to be able to put it in front of people?
I think it was a mixture of party boy delusion and trying to find myself. Because keep in mind, like,
That
I
sounds
don't
like
drink
an
any.
album title, Party Boy Delusion.
Hey, that might be. Inspiration happens at next favorite band.
There you go. Then jot that down.
But you know, I say that because keep in mind, like, timeline wise, in the 2000s, when I started like playing open mics, like, the biggest movie out there was like The Hangover, right?
Hmm.
Or you know, Will Ferrell was the guy, as well as Jonah Hill, and this is pre-weight loss Jonah Hill, pre-cancel culture Jonah Hill.
Sure.
And like, it was cool to be goofy in some ways.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of my poems were like seeking for connection, seeking for love,
I
seeking
gotcha.
for understanding. So
Hmm.
like, that was one thing that motivated me. Two, I was close to the peak of my drinking, so like,
Hmm.
I was willing to put myself out there, but didn't have a concept of like, oh, this might get recorded, or oh, this might become a thing where I'm ending up on podcasts.
Sure.
So that's why I say like party boy delusion.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, like, I had already been writing for 10 years because I started writing poetry at the age of 11.
Hmm.
And like, I just like, I got to give myself a shot. And they say like, college is the best years of your life. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like, many years after college, it's like, I'm still having better times. No pun intended.
Right.
But
That was
like,
perfect. Well placed.
yeah, that's kind of like what got me out of my shell, as
Hmm.
well as peers, because like, I had friends that were musicians, and they were like, "You could do it too." So
Yeah, that's
Sure.
nice to get that encouragement from your peer group, especially when it's you're trying to seek like, is what I'm doing any good and is my talent worth anything? And people being like, no, you've got a knack or you've got a thing, and that
yeah,
really feels great because I'm also a late to. I didn't start playing. I played bass and I didn't start playing until I was 17. So much like yours, like
hmm
late in the game, and it was that same sort of thing where I jumped on some of that stuff, and that self reassurance that you get from other people going like, "Nah, that was nice," is like a moment where you're like, "Okay," and you take one more step towards that confidence.
yep,
Yeah. So one of the poems that you wrote ends up becoming the name of the band of the what you're doing, and it was written because you had witnessed and put a stop to domestic violence on the college campus.
that's correct. So I was at Lehigh University before I transferred to Penn State. And just for the record, before I tell the story, that's not the reason why I left Lehigh.
Sure, sure.
But like, essentially, I was in my dorm, like any college student, and I just started hearing this woman scream and a bunch of sounds. And like, at first, I thought it was like sounds of intimacy,
Sure.
but then I realized like, oh, this is not inside. This is happening outside. So I look outside my window and I see there's a man hitting a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I put my shoes on, run outside, stop the incident, like, pull the guy off of her. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what's going on? And they're explaining like, well, she did it first, he did it first, and someone else called the cops. And essentially, like, I stopped domestic abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and I was writing a poetry book where I was writing a poem every day about like what I saw, what I was feeling,
Wow.
and I wrote about that incident, and I called the incident "A Day Without Love."
Mm-hmm.
And there was a line in the poem where I said, "The day that you don't find love is the day that you find chaos." Flash forward to grad school,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was in a chaotic situation, not not similar to the one before, but like, pretty much I was homeless, and like, a man tried to urinate on me. I was going couch to couch, bench to bench, and I just was thinking to myself like, I don't deserve this, because one, houselessness is terrible. I've
Sure.
experienced it twice in my life, but two, it was like, I was houseless because Hurricane Sandy didn't make my place livable, and I still had to go to school and show up for myself anyways.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm done with this. I might be playing bass for someone. I was in a band at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I need to like actually make this about me and
Yeah.
start writing music about getting out of difficulty,
Right.
and also making about loving myself. So I thought, I'm going to call this A Day Without Love, because, you know, the concept did start from this domestic abuse thing, but like I had been through many struggles,
Sure.
abuse, trauma, et cetera. And I
Yeah.
was like, I want to make this motivational, as opposed to like whenever this is done, I'm not like, well, it was all sad. Instead, it was about life and human condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the phrase I heard you put to it was you wanted to write music with intention, which I think that's it's a very clear and bold statement to make, in that it's not just about harmonies and melodies and
Mhm.
that, which is great too, but it's like you're writing the music to have a purpose to it, and I think that's very, very
Correct.
cool. Yeah. And it clearly also the name resonates with people, like you just said, like it's there's many ways that a person can feel an absence of love, and music just has that universal nature of pulling people together. And so I'm sure people gravitate purely off the name of your band alone, and then listen to the music and feel it even more so, and then maybe makes them feel less alone, and maybe a little bit more able to handle the next day. So it's a very, very cool thing that you did there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the hope. So yeah.
Yeah. And so one thing I wanted to do here was, like, we're going to get into now some of the music that gets released. I know it's not what was released then, but I wanted to bring in the song Caffeine,
hmm
because I think it's somewhat at the, maybe not the opposite end, but another element of your kind of catalog, if you will. It's more in that punk side of things.
Correct.
So I kind of wanted to give people that they heard that other song, but you a little bit maybe more on that folker side, or at least an acoustic singer-songwriter type. I want them to hear the punk side because it's such a great sound. Like, I just think it's a really, really cool song. So anything you want to do to set up Caffeine here?
Just ride on, drink your favorite coffee, and have a good time.
Cool. Well, here is Caffeine from A Day Without Love. Clearly more on the punk spectrum here. And another great video. Is this also obviously DIY stuff here? The videos, the creation of them, and the recording of them?
Oh yeah. So I would definitely say like 100% of my music videos, like, they were all DIY, but on top of that, they were done either through my own means or with the help of another friend.
Right.
Anybody that's listening to this, if you're only listening to the audio version, you should definitely go check out the video, because while the music is energetic, to watch some of the imagery of the video is absolutely worth. Like, you've got to check this out.
Yeah. It just is such a wonderful, like, throwback to that. I'll say this too. So many bands who we bring on, we'll bring on all these different genres, and the one that comes up the most common as to where they started is punk. Whether it's bluegrass, jazz, rock, anything. Like, right, David? Like, it's not almost always. Like, the one that comes up the most often is, I started at a punk band. And I think it has to do with being a teenager and being a little rebellious and, wanting to just play music that makes you feel like you want to run through a wall, because that's what you do at that age. And then you just evolve into the musician you're supposed to be. But, like, punk is just this one thing that just seems to unlock so many people's, like, the beginning of their musical journey.
I'm unique in that situation.
Sure.
But I definitely agree, because I think that has a lot to do with like what you just said, plus like their background. Because like, if you're asking about like just pure output before even playing guitar, I started with poetry / spoken word, like rapping.
Sure.
And then like when I started playing guitar, like I learned blues before learning punk.
Right.
Right. And then when I started writing my own music, I was doing folk punk without realizing it was folk punk.
Sure.
But then as I just matured as a musician, like I claim folk punk just because the majority of shows that I play are folk punk shows.
Mm-hmm.
I really am a multi-genre artist. Like the song I put on my Patreon yesterday was a lo-fi hip hop song, right?
Right.
But the week before that it was a emo song, and the week before that was a folk song. So like,
Right.
yeah,
No, it's awesome.
Yeah,
That's it.
we had a guest on before that used the term genre whiplash, and sometimes that's a
Oh
really
wow,
great way to describe it. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think that's a great way. I embrace that. Like I loved everything about
yeah,
that,
Yes.
and that sounds like exactly the type of thing that I mean from the stuff I've listened to in your catalog. It's like it's exactly the same way, and I love that. I love that when you
yeah.
sort of like it's not like oh these are all the sort of like they found their lane. It's like no, the whole thing's wide open.
Right. Right. Yeah, you never know what's coming up next. So to the music that gets created, so it's 2000 and let's say just between 2013 and 15, you start with two EPs, Island and Confessions of the Innocent Mind, and then in 15, more as a solo artist, you released that first full length album, Solace,
Correct.
and getting a lot of immediate attention and accolades, right off the bat, which is very very cool. So that time frame there, is that right, like before you really got to be a touring musician, or was it kind of a mixture?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I think that was the time where I was truly a local, like Philly artist.
That's where you'll allow yourself to be a local Philly
Yeah, I
artist.
was like, yes, I am, because I'm literally scared to tour. I don't know if I can tour. I thought like you had to sign a form to tour. It's very funny, but yeah, those were
I guess
like
it's one of those things where you just don't know.
yeah, I just didn't know.
Mhm.
But those were like I would say the beginning years of A Day Without Love is like a touring, recording, performing project. So
That's cool. So is it? So I guess 17 comes out where you have the touring happen. What makes you kind of get over the hurdle on that?
so for me, 2015 was like probably the worst year of my life, but the best year of my life for a lot of reasons. Like personally, my grandfather was dying of lung cancer. Professionally, like I was just thinking to myself, hey, consulting's doing pretty well. I have enough money to move out of my house, but I can't because my grandfather's dying. I might as well quit music. But I was like, before I quit music, let me go to South by Southwest conference. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go as a performer because I couldn't afford the touring thing.
Mm-hmm.
I went as an attendee. And keep in mind, these were the days where you go South by Southwest and spend under $2,000, right?
Sure.
Because now it's like extremely expensive, right? And I went from just attending there and going to like workshops, learning about the future of music. And three big things happened. I met the singer of Black Flag. I saw Kevin Devine, who's like a pretty big like singer-songwriters, worked with some pretty big acts.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw like almost all my favorite acts play more than once in a week. And I got asked to play.
Oh, wow.
And when I played, I was playing to all these people not from Philly. And John Batiste of XPN showed up.
Oh, very cool.
And he comes up to me and he's like, I'm going to write about you on our NPR/XPN article. I was like, okay, cool. Not thinking of it. And I see this article that says like 5 of the best acts that played at WXPN from Philly. And I'm one of them. And I'm like,
Wow.
what? I'm ready to quit music. Like I really am, because it's like,
Wow,
I've done
that's
it all.
what a dichotomy there.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm gonna drop Solace and that's it. Because it was like, I did Island, that sold out. I pressed Confessions of the Innocent Mind. I needed Kickstarter, that sold out. And also did a split with 2 other acts, right? And like they never got pressed, but like those bands were about to break up too. And I just was thinking to myself, like, I might as well just like be like everyone else and be an adult. Like touring's not for me, right? And then there was something in me where like the cards were aligning. Like one person reached out to me and said, have you ever been part of a record label? And I was like, oh, isn't it just a credit card? And they were like, oh, no, we're going to press your records and book you shows. And I signed on to Sounds and Tones Records in 2015. And they were like, yeah, we will repress Island and cassettes and like book you shows in New England and upstate New York. And I started taking the bus, and like the quick answer to everything I'm telling you is like, I wanted to give up because I didn't see any other opportunity, but then the opportunities came to me because of South by Southwest.
Sure.
The opportunities come to me. I kind of got this hope like, oh, but there's more. And that's music or any career is like. Like you say to yourself, like, "Oh, I'm tired of being an accountant. I'm in Excel all the time," and then someone knocks on your door and says, "You don't have to use Excel anymore. You get to strategize with people."
Sure.
Oh, something different. So that's kind of like what happened to me with music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's very cool. And then the other thing I think I wanted to touch on here, and it'll probably move us into the documentary,
Sure.
is I read a note that on the tour, especially into the South, you experienced like the highs and lows of singing along with a bunch of strangers being a high, and then the lows of racism that happens, throughout the country. So, like, I wanted you to kind of maybe touch on some of that, if you don't mind.
Totally. So, one of my fears, I just kind of like want to revert to the last question before I answer this question.
Yeah,
Mhm.
One of my many fears with touring was like facing racism
sure.
because, like, in my head, like, touring as a black person in America at the time kind of made me say, like, unless you're famous, you're kind of like all those old, like, original soul band videos. Like, if anyone's ever seen The Temptation, there's a scene in the Temptations movie where the whole band gets pulled over by the cops and they get beat up, they're
Yep.
really assaulted.
Sure.
And I said to myself, like, I don't want that to be me,
Hmm.
because I had friends, I had peers who had been assaulted by police. And like a lot of the DIY scene thought like, oh, that'll never happen. But I'm like, you're literally not black, you know?
Right, yeah. You
So
don't know.
you don't know that
Right,
because
of
it's
course.
not happening because you're not me, right?
Right.
Um, so I started touring on the bus because I couldn't afford a car at the time, and I remember I had a show at this place. It was called like something underground in College Park, Maryland, and I think it was like called literally Music Underground. Let's be real. There's a
Sure.
million Music Undergrounds,
Hmm.
and I got breakfast at this place called Abner's, and a local told me like, hey, you should go to the nearby park and take a walk, since my load-in wasn't for a few hours. So I take a walk. I have my guitar and I had a camera,
Hmm.
and I'm taking pictures. And this guy takes a shotgun and like calls me the N word and says like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" It's like, this is a public park,
Oh
and he's like, "Well,
goodness.
this is my house." And I was like, "What?" It's like, "But this is a public park, and like there's signs everywhere." And then he shoots the shotgun in the air, and he's like, "Turn around and move." And then I like start walking, and he goes, "If you turn around, I'll shoot the gun again." And I'm walking, he shoots the gun again, and then I duck, and then he starts laughing, calls me the silly N word, and then I got away, and then I heard the door close. But like that was like the beginning of me saying like, "Yep, all my fears are confirmed as true," and
Sure.
thankfully the worst didn't happen.
Right.
Um, and I played the gig, and I didn't tell the story till years later because
Hmm.
I just didn't think anybody would believe me. But I even experienced it locally. Like one of my first shows in Philly was at this bar. It's shut down, thank God, called JR's Bar,
Hmm.
and a man like literally did a line of cocaine and and pulled out a gun, and he goes, "Oh, you're a lefty. You're like Jimi Hendrix." And then like pulls out his gun. He goes, "Play Purple Haze," like
Oh,
So like
jeez.
it's not something that happens constantly, but when it happens, it's obvious. And
Sure.
yeah,
And it's always going to be in the back of your mind that it's possible.
yeah, I definitely get it. Or like,
And that's where, like, I don't, like, again, that is a blind spot that people who are not a person of color don't have that awareness that it's out there and could happen at any turn. We're talking here we're talking about 2017 to 19. Like, it's not something that's, from the 40s. Like, this is currently
correct.
happening in this country today.
Yeah,
And so I always want to make sure we take a moment to give you the platform, and if you have, the comfort level with sharing, which, we hope that you do, because this is stuff that hopefully can shine a light on stuff that just is not cool. Like, it's just not something that should be accepted, and we need to do whatever we can to stop it. I think the flip side of this all too is you're hopefully now able to be an inspiration for people of color, young men and women of color, to say, okay, I can go do this. I can see this being something where this is somebody I can learn from, how they did it, how they accomplished, being a touring musician or what have you. Like, this is the kind of thing where, it's a constant area of opportunity as well, to kind of continually expand the community in that way.
I like that you say that last part because I was on the phone with my friend MJ Bones, who's a Black singer-songwriter from New Haven, Connecticut, about this. And I also did another podcast with a Black musician named Black Eyed Fox from Maryland, and we talked about this too. So this happened formally and informally. And I don't take credit for this. However, when I started in 2013, I noticed locally I was one of 3 Black artists in the DIY scene. And like I would say Philly now has way more than 3 Black artists in the DIY community.
Sure.
And I'm the only one out of the 3 of us that's still consistent in like releasing music, touring, and recording.
Right.
And I'm not saying like I'm the reason why Black people exist. Like that's crazy, you know, like in the music scene. But I can say that for once, I do feel like I've given people hope because people do reach out to me that look like me.
Yeah.
As well as Asians and Latin folk, about like feeling not a part of.
Yep.
And I still think there's still a lot of work to be done around, you know, festival selection,
Sure.
giving offers to one group versus not the other group because of the color of their skin.
Yep.
And the like. And, you know, for me, I stick around because first and foremost, I still got a story to tell and still have albums and to write and places to be.
Yeah, sure.
But I also stick around because like people like Maya stuck around, Maya Angelou, that is, for people that don't know. You know, Martin Luther King stuck around, B.B. King stuck around, Buddy Guy stuck around. You know, Kimya Dawson stuck around because keep in mind, I'm not just folk punk, I'm also anti-folk, and Kimya Dawson's one of the pioneers of the anti-folk movement,
Sure.
Which is blowing up again.
Yeah.
And I always try to find locals in my touring circuit that look like me when the schedule allows it. So
Yeah.
It's a way of empowering and encouraging, like, hey, we see you. There's not a lot of us, but we see you.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, it's huge. And then it somewhat ties into this documentary that you collaborated on called Safe X Sound. And I wanted to give you a moment to talk about that. I have the trailer here as well that I was going to play, but I didn't know if you wanted to set it up first or speak to it afterwards. You let me know.
I'm flexible, so let's watch it. So,
All right, let's take a look at this, and then we'll have you speak to it. But it's the trailer for the documentary Safe X Sound.
I'm Brian Walker of A Day Without Love, and this is the Storyteller's Tour. Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, Washington, D.C. I went to all of these different places across the U.S. I sang with friends, I talked about what it means to rise above, or what it means to understand people, and other people did the same. I listened to the stories and perspectives of people's relationship with music, and of how music makes an impact on the community. It's not just about telling the story, it's about learning from the story. I think we live in a plastic world. Everything's wrapped up. Everything's packaged. Everything's a veil. We can't be authentic in our reactions. We don't respond to positive or negative emotions. We're either too afraid of accepting a good thing or afraid of the pain that's actually inside of us. What I'm trying to create is a space where people don't feel ashamed of the pain inside of them, and people don't feel ashamed of the good inside of them. If we can't breathe in our art and expression, then how the hell are we ever going to breathe? It's the good and the bad, and find some sense of harmony and peace. I feel like I'm in a safe place. I'm in a safe space where my story and other people's stories are allowed to be heard. And it's not because of the color of my skin, or my life experiences, or the challenges I've faced along the way. It's because I'm trying to be my most genuine self. And when I'm vulnerable and authentic, people see that and respond to it with their own authenticity. I feel the most intimate part about storytelling, about understanding people, or about playing music is that people are being their most vulnerable selves. For however long that moment lasts, it's beautiful. I fell in love with the road, and I fell in love with the idea that I'm not alone in this. These artistic DIY spaces, they're very community oriented. They're small parts of the whole. It's getting harder and harder to find a home. It's why we need to share our stories. Tell me about what you are afraid of, why you don't drink, why you want to heal, why you want to connect, why you want to be free.
So there's the trailer to SafeX Sound. And I wanted to give you a chance to kind of promote that a little bit. Is there places where people can check this out and learn more about it?
Oh yeah, so if you want to just watch it, you can just go onto my YouTube and type in SafeX Sound, and the documentary's right there.
Oh, cool.
Like the documentary is kind of like done its promotional phase, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
But the point of the documentary, that's what you wanted me to talk about, right? Like,
Yeah.
why do we do it in the first place?
Yeah.
So one of the long-term like goals of A Day Without Love is to make 4 documentaries, and I already did one on the culture. 2 is on food. 3 is on how to survive as an artist, and 4 is mostly focusing on why do you start a band in the first place. And I always wanted to make them accessible. Like the goal isn't really to like end up in Sundance or Netflix or Hulu or whatever. The goal is really to how can I humanize and make something accessible? Because there's a million music documentaries about various topics, but not many of them are accessible. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was like the other vision. And I did this one on culture. And I will say, like, just full disclosure, Brianna and I cut ways, like, as creatives. Because Brianna wanted to take this, like, to the fullest thing. And I was like, one, this happened in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Something really bad happened in 2020. Trying to be a tastemaker with something that happened during such a sensitive time,
Sure.
It's a little tone deaf. So
Mhm.
just drop it. Like, don't cut the documentary, but just release it, right?
Sure.
So we ended up releasing it in 2021 when you could see people again, and did a
Mhm.
lot of local like Philadelphia film screenings. Like we did it at the Grape Room. We did it.
Oh, fun.
And also RIP Grape Room.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was gonna say
just
that was
happened,
just,
yeah.
just
Yeah,
the announcement. I played
that
there
just
usually when I miss
happened.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that place is truly legendary. I
Yeah.
don't think it'll be forgotten for a long time. We did it at bookstores and things like that. But the real reason why I wanted to make the documentary was it was kind of my graduation into touring, going from being I think touring's kind of like in multi phases. Like there's the tri-state touring musician, and those are common in the East Coast. Like, hey, I'm a touring artist. I play in Philly, Jersey, Delaware, and DC. So that's more of like a quad state,
Sure.
And then you build a reputation there. And the next thing you know, you're in upstate New York, and then you're in New England, and then you're like playing like in Virginia, and then before you know it, you're traveling down to Florida.
Yep.
And I say, like, unless your name is like Andrew Jackson Jihad, chances are like everyone's doing that, right? Like the great majority of touring artists are playing in like 5 states in rotation year to year.
Right.
And then like they build some money and finances, and then they do that like half US, full US, right?
Right.
And I kind of wanted to make this like a graduation because it was my second tour where I toured across the US, and all these friends that I made from the internet and DIY community channels, like I was able to see them in person, right?
Right.
And I wanted to kind of like share to the world, like, hey, I'm not sad anymore. Like I'd said in like Solace and
Sure.
Confessions of the Innocent Mind, I'm trying to make hope. And during that time of the documentary, I was writing, A Stranger That You Met Before, because I started developing this reputation of like people coming up to me and saying like, I feel so comfortable around you. And I mean, after years of being bullied and rejected and isolated, that's very foreign to someone like me, right? Like, wait,
Sure.
someone likes me,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted it to be about like community, safety, and inclusion. So
Yeah, and I think it's like having right now only seen the trailer. It just looks like such a fun like the little vignettes of these moments of you and all these people just look like such a wonderful thing to share. Basically, probably built off of like you talked about somebody who felt connected with maybe for the first time in a very long time.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So thank you and kudos to you for being that for people. Like that's
thank you.
that's a very very inspiring thing. So that's very cool. And then to capture it into a documentary is just it allows people to have that other side of this. The
Yeah,
message is loud and clear there in case they missed it in the music.
yeah, and it felt surreal because like keep in mind all that music you hear like in the background, I scored that too. So like that like harmonic song and the
Mhm.
guitar songs, like those are all songs that I did on top of like the narration. So it was something that I was new to. Where like I definitely have other documentaries. Like if you go deep in the YouTubes, I have like an Android quality video of me talking about like D'Alessandro's being one of the best cheesesteaks ever. I also have a documentary where
Which is probably
myself,
true, yeah.
yeah, you get it. You
Yep.
get it, Phil.
Yeah.
And then I also have like a docu series where like in that documentary I talked to three other musicians and we talk about which cheesesteak's the best kind of cheesesteak, right? And I have
Fantastic.
another docu series where like I have a part one, part two of like Sheets versus Wawa, and I got Apes of the State involved in it, and that's like a full punk band. So
Sure.
like yeah, like my fascination for documentaries and bringing like the culture of music involved, it's truly a passion.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
it's fun. So
Totally.
And the Wawa Sheets battle continues to this day.
oh, it totally does. It totally does.
That's
It's never ending.
Do you have a declared favorite?
So then I thought it was Sheets better than Wawa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it's unfair because Wawa still has better like hoagies or sub sandwiches to the non-Philadelphia people.
Yep. Yeah, you got to
Like
make sure you do that.
like if you are above Pennsylvania or below Maryland, you don't know what a hoagie is.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I see people
like,
wearing like Wawa Hoagie Fest T-shirts, and I'm
yeah.
like you just said, wear that anywhere outside of like a 200-mile radius, and they'll not know
They're
what
like,
the
what are you
heck
talking about?
festival that
Yeah.
is.
Exactly. So I definitely think Wawa has better hoagies. They also have better smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
However, Sheets has better options or more range.
Sure.
So like you got to think about like, or like I think Wawa has better coffee, which kind of makes sense because like
Yeah.
let's be real, like South Jersey / Philly, we are a hard working lot of people,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And you need coffee.
And you need coffee. Whereas Sheets, most of the locations there are like very relaxed places. Like if you're in the middle of Ohio,
Yeah.
there's really not much to be stressed about, being in Ohio. At least in my opinion. So,
Don't add us.
yeah.
Just try it one time. Come hang out in Philly for a while. But yeah, I wanted to, a lot of times this is famous for me. David will attest to this. A lot of times people are like, just get to the music. So we want to get to the music.
Sure.
And but listen, we love the stories. That's such an important part of what it is. But we would love to. I think you had said you might be able to show off your left-handed guitar playing skills. This is not a mirrored image. We made sure of it. We wanted to bask in the glory of the left-handed playing.
Sure.
Of Brian Walker. And so we'll come off screen. We'll let you have center stage. You can intro the song. And basically, this is kind of coming to the part where this your more recent release and this song being on that particular album, Tour is Not a Road Trip. So we will let you kind of intro that and play some tracks off it.
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian.
Hi, everyone. This is DIY or Die. It was on Tour's Not a Road Trip, and it's also on Stranger That You Met Before. And the song is about staying true to your values and not selling your soul for the purpose of profit or fame. So here we go. sing in houses and you sing for corporate. I know that one of us sucks. I can say and do what I want. DIY or die to me. Change the way you see yourself. I sing with reverb, you sing with auto-tune. I don't like the way you sing. You just wanna be king, and I want to sing. Change the way you sing your song. I sing with a lot of doubt, you sing with a lot of clout. Sometimes we're all the same. You just sing for fame, and I sing to reclaim. Change the way you fill that void. You said you wouldn't sell out, pay to play for your name. You said you wouldn't sell out, pay to play for your fame. And you said that you wouldn't sell out, pay to play for your name. And you said that you wouldn't sell out, pay to play for your fame. 'Cause I sing in houses and you sing for corporate. I sing in houses and you sing for corporate. I know that one of us sucks. I can say and do what I want. DIY or die to me.
That's such a great song, and we talked about it before coming on. The video for that song is amazing too. So it's almost like a mini movie. Like people need to check that one out.
Yeah, that was the goal.
But before we kind of wrap up here, I want to promote anything that you would like to promote in addition to the music. A couple of things I had here. You have a podcast called Dreams Not Memes.
Correct. Yep.
You have I think David mentioned this in the opening bio, but you have a book of poetry, Surviving and Diving.
That's correct.
So in addition to all this great music, the documentary, there's also poetry. There's podcasts, and there's also, obviously, we always try and encourage people, if you like the music, buy merch straight from the artist, to be able to kind of support that and provide a revenue stream in that way. You have a Patreon, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another way to support there.
Yeah, specifically for this Patreon, every week I drop a new song that I wrote. I'm doing 52 songs in 52 weeks.
Nice.
They are like demo style because I plan on re-releasing them later. So, and then occasionally I'll drop a B-side that's something that never saw the light of day.
Nice.
So it's pretty much a Patreon of just songs that either will be released or won't be released, but they're in different production styles, and I definitely encourage you. And it's only $3 a month, so definitely subscribe to that. And I drop a new song every weekend, so Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So
yeah, and the again, the revenue stream that can be counted upon by an artist is just invaluable. So these are great ways to kind of support anybody who you find to be like doing great work. Then this is the way that they need to be kind of made aware of that. So whether that's merch or Patreon or what have you, we always want to make sure that people know that the streaming services and the digital downloads basically provide you next to nothing, if anything, other than people being aware of your music. That's a very important part.
Correct.
But as far as a revenue stream, it just isn't there. So these are the other ways that you have to make sure that happens. So we always want to kind of point that out. But anything else we can help promote for you? Any kind of touring or
Yeah, so I just announced 20 dates. Most of them are going to be in April and May.
Nice.
I'm going to be touring with a band called Milk Street. Going to be doing some tour dates with Justin Arena. Also doing some tour dates with Audrey Plath and Spud Bug, some like East Coast region area musicians. I'm playing Spring Fling Fest in Philadelphia, which is going to be April 13th. With a lot of Philadelphia bands, as well as some Lehigh Valley area bands. I'm playing Camp Pennsylvania this summer which is like around the Poconos, and that's a stack bill. Definitely look that up, Camp Pennsylvania. And I plan on just playing a lot of music festivals in the East Coast, North Carolina,
cool.
and stuff like that. And a lot of merch is coming, so pre-order and also like get that merch on the website. So
Yeah, for sure.
and a second pressing of the record's coming out because
very
the first
cool.
pressing of the
exciting.
vinyl sold out in like less than 4 months.
Nice.
And we're gonna have another 130 records for the second pressing, and those are gonna be on the road, or you can order online. So
Great. Well, we'll link to all of that in the show notes.
Sure.
And as those different shows come up, we'll obviously echo, any of the promotions of it on our
Thank you.
channels as well, so people can be aware of those shows and attend when it's nearby where they are. But
you.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Anytime. Thank you so much for your time, too.
Absolutely. So there goes Brian from A Day Without Love. David.
Philip.
I feel like we had a day with love. This was wonderful.
Brian was great. I wish we could actually have a longer conversation. Maybe there's one of those in the future. I always like when we sometimes do a part 2.
There was definitely moments where I was like, I want to ask like 3 more questions.
Yeah, we
have
didn't
to
get
move
to touch
on.
on. We didn't get. I mean, just I mentioned this in the bio, but he was like, he took the time during the pandemic and was highly prolific in production wise, and we could probably spend an entire thing on how that came together for him, and that's a whole different DIY kind of mentality on how to do that.
Yeah, and it's like the pandemic had those moments of where people had either like the ones who took it as a moment to get better. Were the ones who survived it, and so they either practiced their craft or decided to pick up a different instrument, or in this case, just kind of be very, like you had said, prolific in content. So like that was another great way to kind of turn lemons into lemonade. If you had to
and
not
probably
be gigging,
in his case, 22 different flavors of lemonade, because that was exactly the kind of releases that were coming out.
Yes,
and then the other thing is, during the trailer, there's one shot of him playing an acoustic guitar, which clearly looks to be in some sort of guitar store, and I think he's just happy because he found a very good left-handed acoustic guitar, which is like an extremely difficult find.
Yep. And even some of those spaces, like I would love to know a little bit more about what those spaces were. And there was one that was either a support group or in a facility for mature adults. So there's things there where I'm going to check out the documentary just to see if there's some of that info in there. But like you said, probably a deeper dive out there in our future with Brian Walker from A Day Without Love.
Yep. And
all right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
You've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank Brian Walker from A Day Without Love for an incredible deep dive into the evolution, the inspiration, and all of the various elements to what has brought him to the music scene, sharing his poetry, and really reaching out to people and giving a push, if you will, to kind of rise above what they're currently going through. And as he says, he's on a mission to spread good vibes, and he is certainly doing that. So we'll be linking to all of his various elements to what he offers. Again, music, the YouTube channel, the documentary, the poetry, the podcasts, everything that's out there, and so that you can kind of check out some more and deeper dive into what A Day Without Love and Brian's up to. As always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. If you happen to already know A Day Without Love and Brian, then thank you so much for tuning in. We would love to have you subscribe to our channel. Hopefully you liked what you heard and what you saw, and you want to maybe be introduced to your next favorite band in a coming week. And also, this was episode 101, so perhaps your next favorite band is already out there. You can visit nextfaveband.com or our YouTube channel, and every episode we've ever done is out there, along with some other cool things like either the live events we've done or some of the exclusive music performances like you heard today. So hope to see you at a live show soon. And be sure to stay tuned for one more song from A Day Without Love. We're now going to feature Home on the Highway.
Sometimes I think I've gotta leave, and other times I've gotta stay. I've been trying to find my truth, writing letters next to you. I don't want to say it was easy. One, two, three, four. Visions and driveways, state to state. Should I travel or should I stay? I can't say if I'm meant for this, but sometimes you gotta take a risk.